The United States is a melting pot of sorts. New York City is a great example of that. Almost every European country is represented by some neighborhood or another in New York City. You also have Chinatown. You got Havana on the Hudson. West Side Story was about 2 different ethnic groups that lived there. Even Native Americans aren't native to America. They've been here longer than the Europeans, but they came over from Russia over a land bridge that used to exist up near Alaska. Like that, Christianity is very diverse. Not just ethnic background, but social, economical. The way we see things, the way we like things, what we do, how we came up. Yes, in Christianity, we are a very diverse group. And any time you have diversity like that, it's important to people how they see things, how they process things. And they see them from their perspective. Well, we come from different backgrounds. And those in Rome, they were no different. Now, how do we get along? What do we do? They had problems too. One thing that they dealt with that we don't deal with as much is the different gods. Even though they weren't really gods at all, they were just man-made gods. But those that had worshipped them, that had come out of worshiping these gods, they brought with them a certain baggage because of that. Those that didn't come out of that had their own type of baggage. See, we all have a baggage of sorts. Maybe it's the culture we grew up in. Maybe it's the nature we have in our being. Maybe it's our upbringing. Whatever it is, we have our baggage. And Rome was no different. We have options. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? Well, Paul used this idea of the gods to look at this. And more importantly, the food that was sacrificed to these gods and whether you should eat it or not. Whether it was spiritual, it was contaminated because it was to a foreign. That's what they were dealing with. And I want to read in Romans chapter 14. I'm going to read verses 13 and 14. It says, "Therefore let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put a stumbling block or obstacle in your brother's way. As one who is in the Lord Jesus, I am fully convinced that no food is unclean by itself. But if anyone regards something as unclean, then for him it is unclean." Don't pass judgment. We know that. We know we're not supposed to pass judgment. We still do at times, but we know we're not supposed to. But Paul takes it a little farther here. He says, don't become a stumbling block. Well, I want to up the ante a little bit more, kind of like Jesus did on the Sermon on the Mount. You know, with the things that he raised the bar. He said, you've heard this, but I say this. I'm going to raise the bar here a little bit more. Not only to not be a stumbling block to your brothers and sisters, but I challenge you to build others up on this journey we're taking together through this world. Who are you going to call this week? Who are you going to take to lunch? Who are you going to send a card to, maybe an email? Who are you going to pray for or with? How are you going to build a brother or sister up this week? Who are you going to be there for? Where we're from doesn't really matter, but where we're going does. As we go forward on this journey, let's be building each other up. Not being a stumbling block, but being a building block.